Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some fascinating source material you sent in, and, our job is to dig through it.
Yeah, pull out the really interesting bits, the useful stuff, so you get the picture without getting totally swamped.
Kind of your shortcut to being in the know.
Exactly. And maybe uncover a few surprises.
So today, we're jumping into the world of fungi, specifically Agaricus muscarius.
Ah, yes, the toadstool. Or bug agaric, some people call it.
Right. And our source for this is an excerpt from William Boericke's Homeopathic Materia Medica.
And our mission here, basically, is to get a handle on what Boericke says are the key features and effects of this fungus.
Focusing on the stuff that really stands out, the surprising bits he points out.
You got it.
Okay, let's get started. Agaricus muscarius. Boericke tells us straight up it's got toxic compounds.
Yeah, the most famous one being mascarin.
What strikes me right away is what he says about the delay.
Oh, absolutely. The symptoms don't kick in for, 12 to 14 hours? That's quite a lag time.
It really is. And he also mentions there's no specific antidote.
Right, treatment is just symptomatic, managing whatever comes up.
He calls it a brain intoxicant. Says the vertigo and delirium are even more intense than with alcohol. That's quite a statement.
It is. It underlines how potent it is, and then comes this deep sleep, reduced reflexes, clearly hitting the nervous system hard.
Okay, so beyond that initial poisoning phase, Boericke gets into some key physical signs.
Yes, he really emphasizes things like jerking, twitching, trembling, and itching. Lots of itching.
That pattern seems important. These involuntary movements, strange sensations.
It's a recurring theme, yeah. And interestingly, he links it to things like incipient phthisis, which relates to tubercular issues, anemia, and also chorea.
Chorea.
Yeah,
That's the condition with the jerky movements, right?
exactly. And he makes a specific note. The twitching stops when the person's asleep.
That detail feels significant. Tells you something about the mechanism, maybe.
I think so. He also connects it to nerve pain, neuralgias, and spasmodic conditions, even neurotic skin problems. It seems to have a really wide reach.
A very wide reach.
Yep.
And some of the descriptions are so vivid.
Like the pierced by needles of ice sensation.
Exactly. You can almost feel that. And the sensitivity to pressure and cold air.
Those are key modalities, factors that influence the symptoms.
Needles of ice.
Yeah.
Wow. He also mentions violent bearing down pains.
Yes. And that really unusual diagonal pattern of symptoms.
Right. Right arm and left leg, for instance. That's not something you hear every day.
No, it's very specific to his observations of Agaricus. And these pains, he says, often come with coldness, numbness, tingling.
Again, pointing to the nerves.
Definitely.
Okay, let's shift to the mind. What did Boericke observe there? This seems like a major area of effect.
Oh, hugely. He describes this state: singing, talking, but not really answering, very talkative, but also an aversion to work, indifference.
And fearlessness, you mentioned.
Yeah, fearlessness right alongside the indifference, which is a strange mix, isn't it?
It really is. It sort of suggests a disconnect.
Maybe. He doesn't spell out the why, but it's suggestive. Then he gets into the delirium.
Right.
Singing, shouting, muttering, even rhyming and prophesying, he says, and often starting with fits of yawning.
Yawning leading to delirium. That's unexpected.
It is. Boericke actually outlines 4 stages of this excitement based on provings.
Provings. That's when they test substances on healthy people in homeopathy.
Correct. So, stage 1, just slight stimulation, more cheerful, bit more courageous, talkative, imagination kicks up a notch.
Almost sounds okay at first.
Almost, but then stage 2 hits. More serious intoxication, mental excitement, incoherent talk. And this is where the perception distortion comes in. Wild swings between happiness and sadness, and things looking the wrong size.
Like the examples you gave. Small holes looking like chasms.
Exactly that. Jumping over tiny things like they're massive logs, a spoonful of water seems like a lake, and increased physical strength, weirdly, along with the twitching.
That sensory distortion is fascinating. Like reality itself is warping.
It points to some deep disruption in brain processing. Then stage 3, well, that gets much darker.
So,
Furious, raging delirium, screaming, raving, urges to self-harm, a really intense state.
a complete contrast to the start.
Yeah,
And stage 4.
that's the aftermath. Mental depression, sluggishness, indifference again, confusion, no motivation, just burnt out.
Wow. Quite a journey through the effects.
And Boericke compares it to belladonna here. He says agaricus is more about general nervous excitement, think delirium tremens or fever delirium, Not so much active brain congestion like belladonna might cause.
So similar outcome, delirium, but potentially a different pathway in the brain.
Seems to be what he's suggesting. Yeah.
Okay, let's walk through the body.
Yeah.
He details symptoms for different parts, right? Starting with the head.
Right. Vertigo is big, especially from sunlight or just walking around, constant head motion, feeling like you're falling backward.
And headaches.
Yeah, specific ones like a nail being driven into the side of the head, or a dull headache from desk work, and that icy cold feeling again.
The icy needles or splinters.
Yes, in the head itself, neuralgia with an icy cold head makes you want to wrap your head up warmly. Also, headaches with nosebleeds or thick mucus.
That icy coldness just keeps popping up. What about the eyes?
Trouble reading is key, like the type is moving or swimming, seeing vibrating things, double vision, dim or flickering sight, eye strain from overuse, like the focusing muscles are spasming.
Twitching there too?
Oh yeah, twitching lids, eyeballs, plus red, itchy, burning lids, feeling stuck together, and really red inner corners of the eyes.
Sounds incredibly irritating. And ears and nose.
Ears burning, itching like they're frozen, twitching muscles around the ear, noises.
Rhinitis?
Could be, yeah, for the nose. Nervous issues, itching inside and out, spasmodic sneezing after coughing, general sensitivity, watery discharge, but not from inflammation. Again, very red inner corners near the nose. Foul, dark, bloody discharge sometimes, nosebleeds in older people, and just general soreness in the nose and mouth area.
It really seems to target those mucous membranes and nerve endings. Face.
Stiffness, twitching, itching, burning facial muscles, that sharp tearing pain in the cheeks like splinters again, and neuralgia feeling like cold needles or ice touching the nerves.
There's that ice again. Okay. Mouth and throat.
Burning, smarting lips, herpes outbreaks, twitching lips, a sweet taste in the mouth, ulcers on the roof of the mouth, splinter-like tongue pains, constant thirst, and a shaky white tongue.
And the throat.
Stitching pains going up towards the ear through the eustachian tube, a feeling of tightness, coughing up little solid balls of phlegm, dryness making it hard to swallow, and a scratching feeling that could make singing impossible.
Okay, moving down. Stomach and abdomen. Digestive stuff.
Empty burps tasting like apples, that's specific. Nervous stomach issues, spasms, hiccups, unnatural hunger. Bloating from gas, but the gas itself is odorless. Burning in the stomach maybe 3 hours after eating, turning into dull pressure. And gastric problems with pain over by the liver.
And the abdomen generally.
Stitching pains, liver, spleen, abdomen, stitches under the left ribs. Diarrhea with a very smelly gas and stools.
So definitely some significant gut disruption. Urinary system. Female reproductive system.
Urinary. Stitching pains in the urethra. Sudden, strong urges to pee. Going frequently.
Okay, and female symptoms.
Periods might come early and be heavier. Itching, tearing, pressing pains in the genitals and lower back. Spasmodic, painful periods. Those severe bearing down pains, especially noted after menopause. Also, sexual excitement, itchy or burning nipples, issues arising after childbirth or intercourse, and an itchy vaginal discharge.
A really broad spectrum there. What about breathing in the heart?
Respiratory, violent cough attacks, but interestingly, ones that can be controlled by will. Worse after eating, headache during the cough, spasmodic cough at night, waking the person up, bringing up small mucus balls, labored breathing, and sometimes a cough that ends in a sneeze.
That's another peculiar one. And the heart.
Irregular, forceful heartbeat, worse from tobacco. Pulse can be intermittent, irregular, chest tightness, palpitations with a flushed face.
So definite impact on heart rhythm and breathing. Back and limbs.
Back pain, especially with spine sensitivity to touch, worse in the upper back. Lower back pain that's worse in the open air. Crick in the back. Twitching neck muscles.
And arms and legs.
General stiffness, hip pain. Rheumatism that feels better with movement, interestingly. Weakness in the lower back area. Unsteady walk, trembling. Itchy toes and feet again, feeling frozen. Cramps in the soles. Shin pain. Neuralgia linked to locomotor ataxia, that coordination problem. Paralysis in the lower limbs with arm spasms, legs going numb when crossed, paralytic pain in the left arm, followed by palpitations, and tearing, painful calf contractions.
Wow, that covers almost everything. What about skin and sleep?
Skin gets the burning, itching, redness, swelling like frostbite again, hard little pimples like flea bites, miliary rash, tiny bumps with intense itching and burning, chilblains, angineurotic edema, that sudden swelling, rosacea, swollen veins but with cold skin, and localized spots that are red, bumpy, maybe pus-filled, swollen.
That sounds miserable. And sleep.
Fits of yawning, restlessness, probably from all the itching and burning, starting or twitching just as you fall asleep, waking you up, vivid dreams, drowsiness during the day, and that really odd one, yawning, followed by involuntary laughter.
Yawning, then laughing. That's just bizarre.
Yep.
Okay, finally, fever and the modalities. Things that make symptoms better or worse.
High sensitivity to cool air, strong heat flashes in the evening, heavy sweating, burning spots on the skin. As for modalities, worse in open cold air after eating, after sex, and cold weather generally, before a thunderstorm.
Before a thunderstorm. Interesting.
Yeah. And pressure on the upper back makes things worse, can even trigger that involuntary laughter, but slow movement tends to help.
Very specific triggers. Now, Boericke also compared agaricus to other things,
He
right?
did. He compares it to muscarine itself, its own alkaloid, noting how muscarine boosts secretions, tears, saliva, sweat, but reduces urine. He mentions atropine has the opposite effect, and muscarine is similar to pilocarpine. And importantly, he distinguishes it from other toxic mushrooms like Amanita vernis and especially Amanita phalloides, the death cap.
Yes, that's crucial.
He stresses the death cap's poison is slow but deadly. A toxalbumin like snake venom or cholera toxin damaging red blood cells, causing organ failure, severe gut issues, but often without pain.
Without pain. That's terrifying.
And with this strange mental clarity until the very end, plus short breathing changes. Very different profile. He also briefly mentions a few other related homeopathic remedies like Agaricus Agaricus, Themis, Smicifuga, Cannabis indica, Hyoscyamus, Tarantula.
Good to have those comparisons. Lastly, antidotes and dosage.
He lists absinthe, coffee and camphor. For dosage in homeopathy, he mentions using potencies from the 3rd up to the 200th, suggests lower potencies for skin issues and what he calls brain exhaustion.
Which refers to the dilution level in homeopathy.
Correct. The level of dilution and shaking.
Well, that was certainly a deep dive.
Yeah.
Boericke's picture of Agaricus muscarius is incredibly detailed and complex.
It really is. The potency, the diverse effects on mind and body, that delayed reaction, and all those peculiar, sometimes contradictory symptoms. Icy coldness next to burning heat,
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Makes you think.
It does. It really makes you consider that mind-body connection, doesn't it? How something from nature, just a mushroom, can have such specific and profound effects.
Absolutely.
So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. What other everyday things we might just walk past, could hold these kinds of surprising, powerful properties we haven't fully understood yet?
That's a good question. Worth pondering.